nervous because I'm here now.
Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of 410 Sports Talk. I'm Glenn Martin here with my co-host James Haskell and a new friend of the show, Hollywood's personal trainer and speed coach in the offseason, Coach Dan Harper, from also the head coach of Calvert Hall's track team. So, Coach, thanks a lot for coming on with us.
Thank you so much for having me, guys. I really appreciate you reaching out and being here on the station with you guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Coach, tell us a little bit about yourself. First of all, how did you get into coaching, and how did you get into contact with Marquise?
So I've been coaching. This is year 14 or 15. I just, really liked working with the youth. That kind of just translated into football. I started coaching football and I played football. Just wanted to, find a way to give back. As far as training, I used to train athletes and then I would send them back to their respective teams. So I was like, well, I'm making you guys look so great. I want this myself. So I made my own sports teams. I made my own football and track team. And that's kind of, just blossomed in one thing to another. And, then different athletes from all over, and then the high school, then the college, worked at a college or two. And, then, professionals start reaching out and saying, hey, he makes people really big, really fast, really strong. So that's kind of how I got into it. The children got me going.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we love hearing that. So was he your first pro player that you worked with?
No, I've worked with quite a few actual track and field Olympians. I worked with a few baseball athletes, a few football guys, from the past. Not on the current Ravens roster, some upcoming, NFL draft prep guys like that. But pretty much Marquise, we had a mutual friend that reached out to me. And I had no clue who it was, and it literally was, hey, I got a guy that needs to get some work in, and he needs a track guy, and we know that you're the best speed guy here in the state, and he's local, so can you take him on? And I said, okay, and then I got a text. It was Marquise, and I gave him the instructions, and we met that Monday. I think we talked, and the next day we literally were rolling. We talked Sunday, we met Monday.
Man, that is awesome.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool to have a guy like that ready to go at the drop of a hat, right? As a coach, you got to be thinking from the very beginning, all right, this guy's serious about his business, because
Absolutely.
one day later he's about it and he's showing up. One of the things I wanted to ask you is, as far as working with Marquise, and when you work with him as well as other, professional athletes, do you coordinate with, for example, the Ravens coaching staff or their training team or anything like that, or like their strength team while you're working with these guys in the off season?
For Marquise, I didn't have any contact with his strength and conditioning coaches. Kind of just had an idea of what he had been working on and doing on his own in the off season. And then I just kind of, worked with him to, structure something specific to his needs coming back from the injury. Specifically, he wanted to work on speed, and that was what I knew initially. As we got to talking through the workouts, we talked about nutrition and strength and conditioning and putting on muscle size and some mass and some power goes along with it, and it just helps when you're trying to build speed. So that's kind of how we got there with that part.
That's awesome.
That's really good to hear. And the biggest question I've been excited to talk to you about is, I think I've heard this saying, you can't teach speed, my entire life growing up. And as I got older, I realized that's not necessarily true. So could you explain to the viewers how someone can get better at the skill of running? Because I don't think many people consider it a skill, and that, of course, improves their speed.
Right. So, you're born, every person's born with a certain amount of, twitch fibers, right? Fast twitch type A and type 2, the slow twitch. Those are, typically your guys and girls that can, do distance much better, right? They can go a little longer, and those muscles, fire a little slower. And then there's the fast twitch, and those are your fast cats, right? And everyone has both, right? But some people, you get balance of one or more of one or the other. But you can train the fast to be faster, right? And you can train those. There's a group of, let's call the twitches in the middle that kind of can go either way, right? And those are the ones that you can recruit to kind of help and make the other ones faster. So everyone can run, right? Barring physiologically, you can go. It's just more so teaching you the physiology behind and the biomechanics behind running, right? Fixing your feet, fixing your shin angles, fixing where your foot strikes, fixing, center of mass, fixing your stride, stride length, your stride ratio, things like that. Those things you do analytically. And you can actually, help someone become faster, even if you just do nothing other than, hey, let's fix your form. They actually may run faster right out the gate before you even do anything with them.
Wow.
No, absolutely. And as far as Hollywood goes, when a guy like him comes to you and says, I want to get bigger and faster, is that a tougher challenge when you're talking about adding 20 pounds to your frame, but also getting faster at the same time?
It's a challenge if the person isn't dedicated. Luckily, Marquise was extremely dedicated from the get-go. I let him know what it is we needed to do. I told him, how I wanted to do it, how many times I needed him to do it, when to lift, how to lift, what to lift. And we kind of worked hand in hand. And he's very receptive. He's very hungry. He's aggressive, and he is extremely dedicated to his craft. So he made my job easier. Putting on mass with speed, it can be difficult, like I said, if the person isn't willing to do both. A lot of people want to get fast. A lot of people want to get big, but there's some components that need to go together. Nutrition is a big one, right? We can run all day, and we can be eating all day, or we can lift all day and be running all day, but not eating properly. We're going to cut into those calories that should be used to bulk. And at the end of the day, you need to be at a surplus. So as long as you everything matches up and in sync and is balanced, you'll have good results.
Nice.
And Coach, I was curious about this. We heard that Jimmy Smith dropped 12 pounds in the offseason, going down from about 220 to 208. And this is a guy who is carved – like he doesn't have a lot of body fat. So I imagine some of that 12 pounds had to be muscle. So how different is it for a guy like Jimmy who's looking to lose 12 pounds while get faster as opposed to Hollywood who's looking to gain and get faster?
Probably one of the biggest things as far as dropping weight to increase in weight is the increase of cardio, right? That's kind of the biggest one. Obviously, you want a deduction in calories, right? 1,500 calories will equal a pound. So if you cut back in your diet and you increase your cardio, right, that intake's going to get crushed a little bit, and you'll cut a little bit more. Also, keep in mind the more muscle you have, the faster you can burn fat. Opposite of that, when you have Hollywood. He wants to do both, right? So that is an increase, and you need a surplus of calories every day. And then also you need to make sure you're burning enough so that you're not sitting at more than 500 so that you can get, more of a clean bulk and not sitting around with, 1,000, 1,500 calories, because we can all eat 4,000 calories.
Oh, I know that, Coach. I know that, Coach.
We can go get 2 blooming onions, right? And it's over, and we'll be done for the day. That doesn't mean we're going to gain anything. We'll get some gut, right? But if not running, it's really going to go bad. But like I said, if you balance it, it'll work well. Bulking is always harder, right? It's harder to put on than it is to cut down.
Get an old awesome blossom with Michael Scott. That's awesome. So one other question specific to Marquise as well is, of course, when he came out of the draft, all the highlight tapes and everything in college, he was known for his top end speed. But now he's healthy. He's got the screw out of his foot. He's put the weight on. One thing we're really excited to see, Glenn and I are getting giddy about, is his short area quickness. Is that something that you guys worked on specifically? And how do you do something like that?
Short area quickness wasn't a specific thing we worked. We just kind of worked overall general speed. So we worked acceleration. We worked max velocity, right? Your top end speed. We worked speed endurance. We worked, and when we worked acceleration, we may just only go 10 meters, right? So 30 feet. We may just work 5 meters. It just kind of depended on the situation. We did do things that were relative to his position, right? So he may have an opportunity to return punts or kicks this season. So there were times that we ran over 100 yards at top end speed, right? Just working speed endurance. But as far as the quickness, those things kind of, get honed and increase and get faster the more you work speed, right? So if you work speed, then you'll increase quickness, you'll increase, foot strike, things like that.
So I mean, we're just like you said, that's cool that you guys practice those different scenarios, because that's something we're really excited to see. And I mean, I'm sure that you saw the video of him and Marlon. And that stutter and go, man, it was a work of art. We were
just like this.
Yeah.
I know that drill. I know that drill very well.
So one of the other things that's a little bit out of the ordinary, but a question that I have as far as, you formally training people, the skill of running, as Glenn was mentioning, when you see a guy like a rookie RG3 who was known for being a track star, and then you see a guy like Lamar Jackson run, can you notice immediately when a guy has been formally trained to run and a guy hasn't? And then are there some guys that don't really they just have so much talent that without needing much training as far as like form, they just already have great form, and they don't need it as much as other guys as far as training, referring to form.
Yeah. So for me, right, being, trained and kind of having the eye, right, I immediately can tell when an athlete has ran track or had some type of formal speed training, and vice versa. I can tell the difference where, their feet are kicking their butt, right? So that would be called bad rear side mechanics, and good front side mechanics, right? They got a good thigh pop. They've got a good, dorsiflexion of the foot. They're pulling their foot through, right? Stepping over, driving down. So those are cues that, you would learn in track or any type of speed work, from a professional coach or, someone well-educated in speed. Likewise, there are guys that are just lightning fast and have absolutely zero training. And those are the ones I really like those guys too, because if they can run that fast with no formal training, to have them and just kind of hone that skill set and teach them one or two techniques, fixing their hands, picking up their chests, driving from the shoulders, and throwing hands and things like that. My goodness, they can go even faster. And there's quite a few guys that I've seen, run on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. And I'm like, man, you haven't had any training, but you are good. I'd like to train you.
Is that what you think about when you see a guy like Lamar? I mean, Lamar has any training, but he's out there playing backyard football. At least it looks that way to us, right?
He is lightning fast. I don't know if he's had any formal track and field training or speed training, but he's naturally gifted. You can tell he's got some natural talent. And I'm sure like I said, everyone can get faster, or at least hone their technique. There's no doubt these guys can go faster if they actually trained track and field.
And what do you say to some people say that when you learn that track speed, maybe you lose some wiggle. And as far as football players, not, just specifically to that sport, they say, he has that track speed, but like, in other words, if Lamar was to get that speed training, would it affect any of his wiggle, his natural make you miss ability?
No, I highly doubt. Track is done in a linear path. Back to what I did with Hollywood, we worked things where we went lateral, right? We may have to turn or stop and go, right? Similar to what he would do in a game. Track is, linear, right? You run straight, you turn left. So you kind of got to put some things in place. But once again, speed in general will hone and increase the ability to, move laterally and things like that, just because your foot quickness, the strength that you'll have with single leg power, and things like that. Likewise, I have yet to see an athlete leave me from training for track and not be faster in whatever sport they go to next. Nice. Soccer, volleyball, they're more explosive, they're faster in soccer, they have better conditioning, the foot speed, the way they can, dribble the ball, football guys, swimming, it doesn't matter. Track is one sport that will prepare you for any other sport, and you'll have some type of crossover.
I guess that makes sense why a lot of football players run track
in college. They can go well, very well.
So how does Hollywood compare to some of the other athletes you worked with? Specifically his speed, how does his natural speed compare to others?
Get the Ravens fans very excited right now.
If I would put Hollywood's speed, his natural speed up there with some of the, great, track runners that I've coached. He could have ran Power 5 track and field, no problem. He could have ran at an LSU, Florida Gator. He could have been at some of those big time track schools and really kind of boogied. And there's no doubt he would be right alongside him. He's fast. He is naturally fast. It was just my job to kind of hone his technique and help him go faster. Which he did very well.
All right, so I'm gonna put you on the spot here, Coach. If you want to sit on the fence, that's totally fine. But if Marquise is feeling good and he wakes up in the morning, is there a chance he can beat Tyreek Hill in a 100-meter dash? Yes.
Yeah. Woo! It looked like you knew that question was coming.
Yeah, I'd love to have them two together. Put them both through the paces for a week. And then, line those guys up and just kind of get after it,
Because I feel like they're different in their build, right? Where Hollywood, while he's not the tallest guy, he's a longer guy. And Tyreek has he's a little more compact. And so I'm sure his turnover is quicker.
Yep.
But, man, that would be an awesome race to watch. I'll tell you what.
Race. Hey, line it up, guys. I want to do it.
All right. We'll do it for charity in the offseason, right?
There you go.
Yeah.
Top 10 guys. Let's get 8 guys. We get an 8-lane track. We'll shut down Calvert Hall. We'll have a race. Live streaming. know,
Man, that'd be
got you
awesome.
covered. That would be awesome. That would be very.
Definitely.
So you mentioned that you did help in some other areas of his training, and you mentioned his diet. So you helped in what, strength, diet, as well as speed training, and
Yep.
what type of diet? Like, was it just protein shakes, and what are we talking?
So it was pretty balanced between protein, carbs, and fats. We did like a 40-30-30 split. Different days he needed the carb load because we may do more running. And then there were certain days that the lifts may be, a little bit heavier, right? So the protein would increase. Kept the fats low. It just was, a big thing was consistency and eat a lot, depending on what the situation was. But it was pretty balanced between protein, carbs, and the fats were the lighter side of it.
That's awesome. And I think it's really smart of you to have a, holistic approach, because I know there's some coaches that want to stay in their lane and they say, I'm a coach that teaches you how to play football, but you can do whatever you want outside of here and eat whatever you want. But like you said, I think it's really smart to have a holistic approach because each phase affects the other.
Absolutely.
So that's really awesome. One of the things I wanted to ask you, that Glenn and I wanted to ask you, is Hollywood mentioned that the Ravens provided them with a GPS tracker to ensure he didn't lose speed, of course. Did you know what his speed progression was? Did you see his top speed by chance? And did you get a 40 out of there? Anything you want to, peel the onion back on?
We have no timed 40s. I have the equipment, and I'm sure at some point him and I will get together and I'll get a laser, time, and we'll kind of keep it under wraps.
All right.
maybe I can hit some other guys, NFL guys. Maybe Tyreek will come out and run against them. I know a few times he definitely had the GPS tracker on. I know he got, well over 22 miles an hour, almost where he was, pre-injury, and that's with the weight, right? So he's dangerous. He's explosive.
Yeah, that's it. So you expect, I guess, it sounds like, to be working with Hollywood next offseason as well?
Yeah. We've got a pretty good, good relationship, good bond. A lot of trust there, just to, do different things. And, I don't anticipate that will change. I think it'll increase, and we'll be around together for a long time.
That's awesome. Well, Coach, why don't you tell us where our fans can find you, what you're working on, and things like that?
Sure. So on Twitter, I'm available, Coach_D Harper. I can be found on Instagram at Elite_Youth. On Facebook, obviously, I use my name, Daniel Harper. Calvert Hall is another spot you can find me. And then dharpertraining.com is my website. And that's got a contact box. They can find me. Anybody that has seen Hollywood or seen some posts or tagged or something, usually I'm somewhere on there and someone's tagged me between the ESPN articles, the Sun articles, all the athletes that are tagging me on the Ravens pages or the Gridiron. So definitely multiple ways to get in touch with me and, have conversations, ask questions, things like that. I'm open to, helping anybody in any sport, regardless of age or, skill set. So
I'm glad you said regardless of age, because I'm getting old. Glad you said that. We appreciate you coming on, Coach, and we hope to talk to you soon. Have a great evening, and we'll see you guys soon. See ya.
Well, thank you again. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Bye.